I just scrambled on some notes, so.
Okay, that's what I did.
I figure we'll end up talking more about the playoff than anything else.
Probably. Yeah, we can. I did not write down a whole bunch of stuff about the actual games, so the playoff will be the thing.
Cool.
Yeah. You ready?
I guess as ready as I'm ever going to be. I don't have a beverage this week because I haven't eaten dinner and I'm really hungry. So
yeah, that always makes a good combination.
Yeah, so I'm not drinking. So no beverage for me tonight. Breaking the streak.
That's all right. Kelly made this kick-ass ham and corn chowder. Delicious. So
David's got something cooking in the kitchen. I don't know what it is. It smells really good.
Nice.
It might be chicken. So this might be another flip your chicken show. So
okay, just let me know if it is. We can make that happen. God, I hate this thing. All right, we're gonna start. I'll
try to get a flip your chicken reference in somewhere somehow. I don't know.
We can figure it out. Yes. Here we go. This is 12, correct? I said 12. Did I
think so?
I think that's 12. All right, we're gonna start here.
Sure.
In a 3, a 2, a 1. Howdy, boys and girls. It is week 12, but of the college football season, and tell you what, the actual number of the week doesn't actually matter a lot. There are two things going on now. It is well, number one, it's a silly season in the SEC, and Carla, maybe you can explain this to me. Alabama versus Chattanooga, Auburn versus Alabama A&M, Texas A&M versus Texas San Antonio. I hate to harp on this every year, Carla, but it just makes me. I have to even bring this up before I even say hi.
Hi, yeah.
Hi.
The week 12 cupcakes. Come on, SEC. Come on.
What's the matter with you people?
Yep. Every year we talk about this.
The other thing that's going on now is that it is we are down to like put up and shut up time in college football. If you have hopes of making the playoff, boy, now is the time. You and I had a conversation on Twitter when the rankings, this week's rankings came out.
Yes.
And it's an interesting thing to kind of get into. I guess we can start with the first thing that we started with a week ago. The rankings feel right to you?
I think so.
Okay.
It's an interesting conversation with the Michigan loss. So for me, it's okay. So obviously Bama's won. That's great.
Yep.
You're looking at a bunch of one-loss teams then, right? Which we knew when we entered this week that it was going to be all heck was going to break loose. So you're looking at the quality of the loss, really. Right. And the fact that Michigan lost to an unranked Iowa team, whereas you have a Louisville who lost to a Clemson, which argues the better loss. Yeah, so there's a part of me that, and I kind of understand why the committee did what they did, because Ohio State and Michigan will sort themselves out.
Yep.
And it looks like, at least from the surface, that they're honoring the head-to-head between Louisville and Clemson. And that's why Clemson's 4 and Louisville's 5. Could you drop Michigan out and put Michigan at 5 and then have Clemson at 3 and Louisville at 4? Maybe. But I'm not sure that feels like semantics to me at this point, because Ohio State and Michigan are sorted out in a week.
Well, and you could say, I mean, if you're talking about the quality of the losses, yes, Michigan's loss to Iowa was to an unranked Iowa, but at night on the road, difficult environment. Clemson's loss was to an unranked Pitt team at home. So I think if that's what we're looking at, I think that tips the scales in Michigan's favor just a little bit.
A little bit, and then you have the problem with Clemson having beaten Louisville, because I think Louisville has the best loss out of anybody. But the problem is that apparently the committee is going to honor the head-to-head, and so they can't move Louisville ahead of Clemson. At least that's the way it looks right now. So yeah, it's I understand why they did what they did. I'm okay with Washington at 6. That's the weakest strength of schedule by far. So I'm okay with it. I think because a lot of this is going to play itself out.
Sure.
And there's some interesting things lower down that were down in the top 25 that aren't going to, they really don't have playoff implications, but they do have New Year's 6 implications, which is really interesting. So.
One more kind of hypothetical playoff thing, just because I find it fascinating. We've heard, especially this season, as I recall, over and over, that the emphasis is not necessarily on conference champions when you're picking that Final Four. It is on the 4 teams that are playing the best football at that moment. Having said that, and we knowing how the Big Ten could play out, and just to refresh, if you guys aren't aware, let's see, if Michigan wins out, they're the Big Ten East champions. If Ohio State wins out, it needs a Penn State to lose one to be Big Ten East champions. If Ohio State wins out and Penn State wins out, Penn State is the Big Ten East champions. I wonder about the possibility of a Penn State and Ohio State making the playoff.
Yeah,
probably far-fetched, but Penn State has has one of the hotter second halves in college football, and they're kind of they have worked themselves up high in the rankings, and I wonder what happens. Say Ohio State has 2 good wins on the road at Michigan State this weekend, which I will be attending. You can look for me, freezing my butt off upstairs, and then in Columbus against Michigan. Penn State wins out, presumably beats Wisconsin, wins the Big Ten title. What happens then?
Yeah, it's the million. That's what we were debating on Twitter last night. And it's a really interesting question. And so, and this is where I got into the argument that it wasn't an argument. It was more of a, what's the logic here? Here's my problem with saying that a 2-loss Big Ten champion doesn't get in. Because everything says, yes, if I had to choose right now, looking at strength of schedule and performance on the field between Louisville, Wisconsin, and Penn State, without a doubt, it's Louisville's the team you want in the playoff. I mean, we watched them destroy Florida State. We watched them play really, really well against Clemson, a game that they were, one play away from winning. So yeah, I agree with that argument. They're like, yeah, Louisville's playing the best. If Ohio State wins out and we end up with a 2-loss Big Ten champion, Louisville bumps up in there, and you have that. But here's my problem with that is that then essentially the committee is saying that titles don't matter at all. And my problem there is from where we were 2 years ago, and this is the point I was trying to make last night on Twitter, and I don't know if it came across, was that when the playoff was first started, and we had the problem with TCU and Baylor, right? And we were trying to sort all of that out, and Baylor won the conference championship, yet got left out of the playoff. The committee was essentially saying, not only do conference titles matter, championship games matter. And since then, the Big 12 has implemented a championship game. If you have a 2-loss, let's go out on the limb here and say Wisconsin wins the Big Ten. Okay, so you got Wisconsin and Penn State. Because I think the argument is stronger with Wisconsin. I don't think you can make the same argument with Penn State because of that bad loss against.
Mostly, I just would love to have another chance to play Penn State. That's mostly what.
I get that, but I think if Penn State wins the Big Ten, I think the committee's decision becomes a heck of a lot easier. If Wisconsin wins the Big Ten and you look at their 2 losses, 2 games that they should have won against Ohio State and Michigan, now you've got a conversation here because they won the conference. And if you don't put them in, you're essentially telling everybody that the regular season doesn't matter. So why would I want to make it to my championship game when I could not make it to my championship game, get an extra week of rest and prep for my playoff game? Right? Like, I'm not sure the committee wants to make that statement. I cringe at that thought that was the big fear everybody had from the playoff, was that we would end up with a situation where the regular season wouldn't matter. and and conference championships wouldn't matter. And we thought we had that figured out 2 years ago. And now the committee may go back on that and say, no, you know what? It doesn't matter if you win the conference championship. If you're playing good football, we're going to put you in anyway. Well, then why do we have conference championship games? Well, okay, I know why, because it's sponsor dollars and it's TV dollars and all that kind of stuff. But like, why would I want to try to win the conference? If I can lose a game, sit out the conference championship and have a better shot at the playoff, then and that's my problem with this argument. Okay. Is Louisville a better team than Wisconsin? I think so. Would Louisville be a better contender in the playoff? Absolutely. Yeah. But how do you do that? Louisville didn't win its division. Mm-hmm. You say the same thing with Ohio State. Ohio State didn't win its division. Yet if it wins out, it appears that it's going to make the playoff. Mm-hmm. There's something that just doesn't. I don't know. It doesn't sit right with me. I think we got to make a decision here. If title games don't matter, then let's come up with an alternative, because why play title games?
Okay. I'm obviously I have the fan thing going on, and clearly what I want to see happen. I wonder if the title game and the importance of the title game that the committee seemed to place a couple years ago maybe isn't so much as the title game itself or for the title itself, but just one more opportunity for a strong win, a marquee win. And maybe we're thinking too much about the actual you get to the conference trophy and that sort of stuff, and maybe that's not really what the committee's looking at. They're just looking at another opportunity. When Ohio State goes to the Big Ten championship game against Wisconsin, perhaps it's not that Ohio State this 2 years ago, won the Big Ten championship. It's that they put up 57 points on a really good team. So I don't know, and this is also delving way into semantics, and I'm not sure that the committee is going to get that deep into this stuff. But it's interesting to think about, and certainly.
My husband was in a meeting today with Jeff Long, and I kept texting him to ask him about Louisville. Ask Jeff Long about Louisville. Ask him. I didn't get an answer, but I was just like, come on, you're sitting next to a committee member. Tell me what's going on. But no.
And we'll find out. We're going to find out here soon enough. And between now and then, we still have some actual football games to talk about. Three decent ones. This weekend that we are looking at, one that's going to be spectacular, and I think I will be in a position to be able to watch it on Saturday night. But we start. This is an odd thing. Was to have been played a month ago in Florida because of some kind of little tantrum on the part of LSU. The Gators and the Tigers are now playing in Baton Rouge on Saturday. This is, of course, number 23 Florida at number 16 LSU. LSU is favored by almost 2 touchdowns. It's got to be. Florida gets 2 home games the next two years against LSU, so I guess there's that. But this is a tough spot for them, for a team that actually could win the SEC East on Saturday. What do you think?
Yeah, this is a much bigger game for Florida than it is for LSU, simply because Bama's already wrapped up the West. So so LSU is playing for a bowl game at this point. Whereas Florida's got the SEC East on the line here. But my gosh, you have a lot of fans on the eastern part of the state that I happen to reside in that are really, really happy that this game is being played. Because
right.
Yeah, because their hope is that if Florida loses one more game, then suddenly they're punching their tickets to Atlanta. Yes. So this is a really, really interesting game. Every time we talk about Florida, I'm consistently talking about what's going on with their offense, right? And here we are, it's week 12, and I'm still not convinced that Florida has an offense that is going to be able to overcome the LSU defense here. And part of that's because they're playing with Austin Appleby again this week at quarterback. This will be his 4th start, and I don't know. I guess I'm just not that. The start of the UT game, he looked really, really good, and then he just kind of went mediocre from there on out. And the team has kind of played mediocre around him at under center. they lost. They ended up losing the game to UT. They had to like squeak past Vandy. Now Vandy's not a terrible team, but they're not the best team. They're not an elite SEC team by any stretch of the imagination. Right. Yes, that game was on the road, but I don't know if you've ever seen what a Vanderbilt road game looks like. It looks like a home game for the visiting team because Vanderbilt fans just don't show up. Like, that's just the way it is. Right. There was definitely more blue in the stands than there was gold. So, I mean, that game was kind of a head scratcher. And yes, they beat South Carolina last week with Appleby playing at quarterback, but it wasn't an impressive win. I mean, they won 20-7, scored a touchdown in the first two quarters, and I don't know. I'm not convinced that this Florida offense is really anything at all. What they do have is a good defense, and we've known that for a long time. They've got the number 2 rush defense in the conference, which is an interesting conversation against an LSU team that likes to run the ball a lot. They've got 2 running backs in the backfield now, and actually, we talk about Leonard Fournette all the time. Fournette's not even the featured back anymore. It's Darius Geis, and they rushed combined for over 300 yards last week against an Arkansas defense that played really, really well the week before. Yes, I will admit I was totally wrong on that game.
We've both been totally wrong about lots of games.
Last week we were totally wrong on everything. Like, I just rip the paper up and go, whoop, okay.
Yeah.
Which, thank God, that finally happened. We were waiting for that week all season, and it finally happened.
It always shows up.
Yeah, but this LSU team has looked really, really good aside from that loss from Alabama. And they're playing at home, and it's suddenly their senior night. They've decided to parade their seniors out because they weren't expecting to have this game, but now they're going to play, it's going to be senior day in Death Valley. I don't know. I think the only thing that could make this game even more, like, make me lean LSU in this game is if this game was at night. Because Death Valley at night is just wacky.
It's a whole different thing.
It's a noon kick. So the atmosphere won't quite be as I don't know.
Drunk.
Oppressive. That too. Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. There's that too. Yeah. I don't know. Everything in this says LSU. I haven't found anything that, other than the fact that LSU still, they played well last week, but they still have that quarterback issue. Like, what's going on there? But I don't know. Gut says LSU in this one, and that's going to make a lot of people in Knoxville really, really happy.
The funny thing about this game that I came across, and I was not completely aware of this until I was looking into it today, is the battle of the ex-Purdue quarterbacks.
Yeah.
I'm not sure this is really something that the SEC should be happy about. We've talked on and off all year about the problems that LSU has with quarterbacks, and gosh, a guy who couldn't catch on at Purdue probably isn't the answer you want. And Florida's sort of in the same boat. It's not the guy you start the season with, but do the best you can at least. That stuff aside, it has to be frustrating for the folks in Florida, because this sets up completely differently if this game was played where it was supposed to be played, and maybe when it was supposed to be played. They're in a really tough spot now, and I'm not sure that they have the offense to pull out a win on the road against LSU. Both teams have some injury problems. So I think that's a bigger deal for Florida. And it feels like they capitulate a little bit on getting this game on the schedule. They gave in to LSU, which said that we're not going to lose a home game because of this. Both schools canceled non-conference games. They would have had their cupcake games this week. I think I'm looking at this the same way you are. This is something that kind of tilts in LSU's favor, and that's where I see this going. We go to the West Coast next. Number 22, Washington State at number 10, Colorado. Colorado's kind of one of the surprise teams of the season. They're favored at home by 4.5 points. What do you think?
Yeah, this is going to be an entertaining game, especially because this is one of those things that you're in week 12 and you're like, wait, these two teams are leading their divisions? Welcome to East Coast bias, I guess. Yeah, that's at least the argument that everybody will make. Is
That's not East Coast bias. I'm tired. I have to go to sleep.
Right, which is why it's great that this game's at 2:30 Central.
Yes, yes.
It's a 3:30 Eastern kick, which is fabulous because we're actually going to get a chance to see both of these teams. Things that we didn't know. I mean, we know that Mike Leach runs the air raid offense. We've always known that. He's got a quarterback that can actually do it now in Luke Falk, who is second in the nation in passing. Some challenges that Wazoo's going to have this week is the fact that it's down a wide receiver, which is not a good thing when you're trying to run an air raid. Their second leading wide receiver is out for the rest of the year due to an injury, and unfortunately, it's the end of his career, and you hate that. So they're going to be down a wide receiver. Interestingly enough, though, they've been able to balance it out with a run game. So, will the air raids still be as effective against Colorado, or will they go a little bit more balanced? That would be an interesting thing, because Colorado happens to have the best pass defense in the conference. Yes. So you have strength on strength there, which normally means that you have to do some shuffling. So it'll be interesting to see how the Wazoo offense handles that. Colorado, very similar. These two teams, when you look at them on paper, look extremely similar. Balanced run pass on offense. And their quarterback, who has a name that I will probably butcher because, again, I'm like you, I don't stay up and watch late at night. Is Sifo Liafu?
Yes.
Liafu, maybe. I
don't know. I'm going to refer to West Virginia's head coach as the Swedish chef. So look, I'm the wrong person to be asking.
Yeah, Liufau. I'm really, really sorry because this kid has played football for 3 years at Colorado. This is his 37th consecutive start. It's a school record. And so there's some confidence there with this offense because you've got some experience. The other thing that's interesting about Colorado is that they've been able to their defense forces turnovers. They forced at least one turnover in 23 consecutive games. So that's going to be the key here for Colorado. The Washington defense gives up 271 yards per game in the air. It's a really interesting matchup. I think that the tail of the tape here is going to come down to whether the Washington State offense can figure out a way to overcome this Colorado defense or confuse this Colorado defense that likes to take the ball away and can stop the pass. If they can figure that out, I think you're going to see a really, really close and competitive game here. Otherwise, I think this edges Buffaloes playing at home. They've been a little bit more consistent throughout the season. I don't know. My gut says Colorado in this one. It would not stun me to see Washington State win this, especially if they can get that defensive thing figured out. Okay.
I guess I'm kind of thinking the same thing. There's no question that the Wazoo offense has been really impressive. It looks like it's like Mike Leach is their head coach or something. Just averaging almost 400 passing yards per game. It is just a crazy thing to watch. But because the injury, that you slow that down a little bit. And facing the second best passing defense in the country, facing a defense that's only giving up 18 points a game. The strength on strength matchup is right there. That's the cool part about this, and I think this would be why this would be a fun game to watch. I think the Colorado's defense, especially this being a home game, will slow down the Cougars enough, and Colorado's good balanced offense with a ridiculously experienced quarterback is going to be able to pull this out and see that. And I think that would, I don't know if that, I actually didn't look to see if that would clinch Colorado's share in their division, but
no, they've got to beat Utah.
You got to beat Utah. Okay. Well, but that would get them on the way for that one. This is the game. I'm going to East Lansing. That game's at noon. We're going to my friend's mother's house outside of Detroit after that game, and we're going to spend the night there and then drive home on Sunday. So I will be able to watch number 9 Oklahoma at number 14 West Virginia. Oklahoma is favored by 2.5 points on the road. Oh man, I absolutely do not envy any Oklahoma people who are venturing to Morgantown this weekend because it's going to be unbelievable. Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, this was when I mentioned in the top of our conversation here about the interesting things happening in the lower part of the top 25. This was, aside from the Louisville people complaining about not being in the top 4, which, okay, I get that gripe.
Yeah.
The second biggest complaint that I saw happening on social media after the rankings were released was, why the heck is Oklahoma ranked ahead of West Virginia?
Yeah. Yep.
And the same thing that applies in the Michigan-Ohio State conversation applies here. It didn't bother me simply because they're going to figure it out on Saturday. But yeah, I mean, West Virginia's not getting enough respect here. I think that's a legitimate beef. They've got some good wins on the schedule. However, there's some history here, right? They've never beaten Oklahoma since they joined the Big 12.
Right.
And so that's going to be something that there's a bit of a stigma there, right? Big brother, little brother kind of feeling.
Sure.
Playing at home will help that. Their only loss this year is to Oklahoma State. And the reason how Oklahoma State did it was they beat West Virginia through the air. And they played good defense to stop the Mountaineer offense, which is interesting because West Virginia was the team that did this wacky reconfiguring of their, essentially the triple option on defense.
Right.
And so it's interesting that Oklahoma State figured this out. You've got to believe that Mike Stoops gave Gundy a call this week to say, hey, can we borrow some tape? So that's the way, apparently that was at least the way that Oklahoma State was able to beat West Virginia, was to rely on its air game, which Oklahoma has the capacity of doing with Baker Mayfield. Yes. So that's a really interesting thing. Will they be able to replicate that? Oklahoma's won 7 straight. They've become one of the hottest teams in the country. And their defense is playing better, but they have problems in the secondary. So if West Virginia is able to exploit the Oklahoma secondary, this game could turn into a shootout. So, and that's really what I'm kind of expecting here, because you're going to have offenses that have certain areas that can exploit the other's defense. I think, I wish this game was on Fox, right? So instead we've got Fowler, and that's fine. But it's because it's an ABC game. But yeah, I see this as being a high scoring game. I would love to see West Virginia win this, just to see what it would do to the rankings.
Yes.
Because now all of a sudden you've got a 9-win West Virginia team with a single loss to a decent Oklahoma State team. Right. Where do they deserve to be in this conversation?
And after pretty much everyone had written off the Big 12 entirely, including you and I.
Right. Yeah. I mean, do they deserve to be in the conference? Does Oklahoma, or does West Virginia, if they win this game, have the opportunity to jump past Washington? That's an interesting conversation, which conference has and which loss is worse, right? That's an interesting conversation. I really want West Virginia to win this game just to mess up the conversation even more. Do I think they've got, and playing at home at night, that's huge. But it's going to take a lot out of West Virginia to be able to beat Oklahoma. Like, I don't know who to pick. I really don't. It's one of those that you like, my gut says that somehow Oklahoma finds a way to win this game just because of the stigma. But like I said, my gosh, I really hope West Virginia wins this.
This is the year that the old school Big 12 is going to regret the day they invited the West Virginia into the conference. I don't know that I feel any more strongly about this either way than you do, but I'm taking West Virginia. It seriously is, that is a serious home field advantage. My folks have been to a game there, and they still say it is the most hostile place they have ever been.
Ask Pitt about that, right?
Yeah. That wouldn't be surprised to Pitt fans. I think West Virginia's defense has been it's a very different thing, but it has been solid all year long, maybe with the exception of the Oklahoma State game. This just feels, this is a gut pick for me. I know Oklahoma has come back and is having the kind of season, or at least is playing as well as everyone thought that everyone expected them to be at the outset. And I think that works in West Virginia's favor. The stigma you talked about, it's those eventually get dumped on their heads. And I'm gonna pick West Virginia. And if you live in Morgantown, make sure you don't have your porch, your couch out on the front porch on Saturday night. might show up missing. That's it. I mean, we could continue talking about this stuff for another 30 minutes, but we're gonna leave it there and come back next week and talk about wrapping things up and conference championship games and all the other stuff that we were talking about again, but maybe with a little bit rivalry. That's what I'm going to work. That's what I'm going to work on. I'm going to work on being able to say rivalry week by the time we talk next week. Okay.
That sounds like a plan.
There's a goal. It's good to have goals. Guys, thank you very much for watching. We will talk to you again next week. Carla, thank you.
Yep. Thanks as always.
Guys. Okay.
And Rochelle Shell is still playing football.
Oh God.
Oh boy. So now we got to figure out what we're going to do next week.
We are, like I said, I mean, we're going to Columbus on Thursday. And I know you travel before that, but I could do, we won't have playoff rankings if we do this Monday night.
Right. And I'm going to be packing Monday night because I'm going to end up working most this weekend. And our flight is Tuesday morning early.
Where will you be Tuesday night?
Tuesday night, I'll be in a hotel room in Corey with Wi-Fi.
With Wi-Fi.
So I could do Tuesday night potentially, or even Wednesday night.
Wednesday night might be tricky for me because and we'll be getting ready to go.
Right. So maybe Tuesday night, like right after the rankings or something.
Yeah, if that works for you.
Yeah, I can make that work.
Okay.
Because I think we're going to go to Mom and Dad's. Our flight lands in Cleveland at 11:30.
Okay.
And then we've got the 2.5 hour drive to Corey. And we're going to stop to eat. So, and normally they throw something in the crock pot and we have dinner. And I'm guessing the nephews will be there, but they go to bed at 8.
Okay.
So
do I sometimes.
Yeah, I can't blame them. But they go to bed between 7:30 and 8. So, and my guess is that Megan will want to put them to bed so that they don't get exhausted for the week. And so if that's the case, then we can just make sure that we leave when they leave.
Okay.
And it's 4 minutes from my parents' house to the hotel that we're staying in.
Okay. No, that's and if it needs to be a little bit later than normal, that's that. Joking about my early bedtime aside, that's no problem. Okay.
Yeah, we'll figure that out. Yeah, I might need. Well, but it's 9:40 for you now. I would say 9 o'clock Eastern. We should be fine.
Okay.
It might be 9:15 or 9:30, but it wouldn't be any later than that.
That's fine. He's no trouble.
So.
And that will be actually the other good thing about that is that I can have the show done on Wednesday, so
cool.
It'll be done.
Yeah, because we're gonna want to put it up on Wednesday night.
Yeah, that's okay.
Potentially, because games start on Thursday night. Not that we'll necessarily talk about any of those games, but
I don't know if you've got a good one on Thursday night or on Friday, we can get it in.
I don't know. It's A&M and somebody, right? A&M plays Thanksgiving night every year now.
Yeah, I don't know who that.
I don't know who they're playing, and it doesn't matter because they suck. Well, they're still top 25, barely.
I know.